Hello everyone. So today I will be demonstrating how to create a GUI application using the Tkinter framework in Python. So here we have our sample scenario. You have to create a basic GUI that will read two numeric values and will compute the sum, difference, product, and quotient of two numbers. You need to apply exception handling. So a sample interface is given here. Okay, so we need to enter a first number, a second number. So we need text boxes here, and the answer will be displayed in the answer text box. We have four buttons: the add, subtract, product, and quotient. So we're going to create this GUI and then apply code to an event. Okay, apply event handler for our buttons. So let's start. So we will be using the Jupyter IDE to create that application. Again, to create a GUI in Python, you need four basic steps. What is the first step? You have to import the Tkinter module. Second, you have to create your main window. Third, you need to add widgets to your main window. And fourth, you have to use the main loop method so the screen or your main window will appear on your screen. Okay, so let's start. First, let us import the Tkinter module. So from Tkinter, import star. So we will be importing all the name classes from the Tkinter module. Next, we should have a variable that will represent as our parent window or main window. In this example, I will be using master as my variable for my main window. So master is equals to tk. So that's my main window now. And then at the end, you should type your main loop. So this main loop again is a method that will loop in order to show your window, your parent window in your screen. So in between the master and the main loop, that's where to type the codes for adding of widgets and your functions. So if you're going to run this, automatically you have already your screen. So this is now the screen for this three line of codes. So the form is empty. So we can now add our widgets. Okay. So this is now the parent window. Next. Now, you can also add some values to the properties of your master. For example, let's put it a title. So master, that title, so this is a simple calculator. You can also set the size of the window or your main screen using the geometry property. So just type inside what is the width and the height. For example, I want it 200 by 300. Okay? So if you want a bigger interface, then you can set the size in the geometry property. So 200 width, 300 height. So better it's 400 width and 300 height. Okay, let's continue. Now, we need to add labels and we need to add entry text boxes to our interface. So to add the label, again, we need variables that will represent our label 1. So, the widget is label. Where to put it? The parameter for your widget, the first one is always the parent window, which is your master. And then after that, you can set some options and values. That is your properties. So text, enter, first number. Okay? And then, you can position it using the grid method at a certain specific row or column. Okay? So for now, let's assign it at row 0. Okay? So this one, when you run, you already have enter first number. So it is at row 0. Okay? So this is the general syntax to create a widget. What is the variable for that? What is the name of the widget? What is the parent form or the parent window? And what are the properties that you want? You can specify other options or properties like width, height, and the background properties. So since we are working with the basic properties, so let us just use text. Now, I will copy paste this. So I will now create my label 2. So enter second number. So I will put it in row 1. Okay? And then I will have the third label, which is for the answer. So that will be my label 3, and that is the answer. And I will put it in my row 3. Okay, a row 2. Or better, we'll start with 1. Row 1, row 2, row 3. You can start with any number of rows. So when you run this, take note that you have entered first number in the row 1. Row 2 is your second number and answer is at the third row. Now, let's work on the text box. In Python, Tkinter, for a single entry in your text box, you can use the entry widget. Okay? So, let's have a variable txt num1 that will represent the entry for our number 1. So, use entry master. So, that's for your number 1. You also have your number 2. Okay? And then you also have your txt answer is equals to entry. Okay? Master. Now, when you run this program, take note that the text boxes are not yet appearing on the screen, okay? Because you have not specified yet what is the position of these text boxes in your grid, okay? So let's position now txt num1 dot grid row. So since this is num1, it should be opposite our first number. Since our first number is at row 1, it should also be in row 1. Okay? But its column should be in 1. Because by default, the first number is at column 0. If you want to type column 0 here, it is also okay. Okay? But the first object that you will plot is automatically set at column 0. So here, you can now type that the txt num is at column 1. So when I run this program, txt num. Okay, what's the name? txt num1. Okay, so txt num1, this is the first one. It is now opposite your label because it is at column 1. Okay? So, now, if you'll be working with your txt num2, it will now be at row 2, also column 1. Okay? And your txt answer is also okay, at row is equals to 3 and column is equals to 1. Okay, so let's check again. So we have now, okay, num1, both num1 here, num1, num2. So be careful when copying and pasting. So you see, so this is row 1, column 1, row 2, column 1, and row 3, column 1. So that's your interface now. Again, what did we use? Entry. Okay. There is also text. Okay. But this is for multiple entry. If you're only going to type a single line entry, then use the entry widget. Let's try to have the button now. So it's the same. Represent a variable that will represent your button. Is equals to button. And then it's the same here. Master. And then what is it that you want to put in the text? So let's say text is equals to add. You can specify the width of the button if you want. Let's say width is equals to 20. Height is equals to 10. That's possible. And then the command is needed if you want to apply some code later. So it is in the command property that the handler for the codes will be written. It will be assigned here. Okay, our code handlers. For now, let's make it blank and I will go back later to this command property, how to call a function that will do the addition of the two numbers. Now, since our answer is at row 3, we're going to assign our button in a certain row also. So, row is equals to, let's put one space, 5, and then column is equals to 0. Okay, so that will be for the first button. Let us see. Okay, correct. So this is, okay, row 5, column 0. So we will put the subtraction here and then the other two buttons below. So I will now copy this button. Copy. Okay. Now, my next button will be the subtract. PT and sub. So here it's subtract. And then, what will happen now? It should be at row 5, column 1. Okay? It will be beside your BT and add. And then, I will copy this both for the two buttons. Multiplication. So this is my BTN multiply. And this is my BTN divide. Okay, so this is multiply. And this is divide. So, in order for the control or the widget not to overlap with another, make sure you are setting the row and the column properly. So here, 5, 0, 5, 1. So we can put this at the next row. 6, 0, and 6, 1. Okay? Let's see our interface. That's it. So, I guess it's okay for now. So that's how to design. The codes will be a little longer, but copying and pasting can do a shortcut on the work. Just make sure you will be changing the properties or the values properly. Now, we are done with the design. Let us now do a function that will compute the values of the two numbers. So what are we going to do here? We need to add, we need to subtract, we need to multiply, and we need to divide the two numbers. Okay? So let's have the function. If you will be writing your function, make sure it is inside your master declaration. Okay? So I have here now my function. How to define function? Def compute. Okay. Take note that in this particular problem, you are to operate on two numbers. It's the same numbers that you're going to operate, num1 and num2. The only difference is in the operators. So plus, minus, multiplication, and divide. So here, we can use operator or op as our parameter. So later, the BT and add will pass a value to this parameter that once BT and add is clicked, it is the addition. If BT and subtract will be clicked, the operator is subtraction. So, we only need one function to solve the addition, the multiplication, the subtraction, and the division. We will only validate what is the operator that is being sent to the parameter. Okay? So, here, what do we need to do? First, we need to get what are the values that we are going to enter. Okay? What are the values? Level 1. Okay, because I have not typed here anything. Okay, now, let me type something first. How are we going to, let me comment this. Okay, how are we going to get? I will type 4 and 3 here. How am I going to get the values that I will be entering in your text box? So the method for that is called get. Okay, get. So I will go back to my function. Now, I will have a variable num1. This will represent to the value that I will enter in my text num1. Okay, so let's make it a float. Float txt num1 dot get. So it means the value that I will enter in my txt num1, I will store in num1 variable. And then, my num2 will represent the value that I will enter in my txt num2. So this is the method get. By default, this is string. So that's why we need a conversion value to make it numeric. So let's test now. What is the operator that we need to operate on the two values? We need 4. So we need a conditional statement to check what operator is to be passed to this parameter. Okay? So if op is equals to addition or plus, then you should have a variable that will represent the values for your addition. Let's say answer. Let's call it answer is equals to num1 plus num2. Okay? Now, what happens if the operator now is equals to subtraction? So, I will just copy this and change the operator to minus. Okay? And then, if it is, okay, the indentation. If it is multiplication, then I will make it a multiplication symbol. So, if this one, I am at the last condition. So, I can use else now. So, else answer is equals to num1 divide num2. Okay? So, I have now the operations for the 4 buttons. Now, how are we going to display it in our text box? The answer. Okay? So, in Python, you should have a Stringbar variable that can format your numeric values into a string format. So, better declare this variable outside your function so it will be a global variable, a variable that you can access in your main program, all throughout the main program. Because the moment you declare it inside your function, it is only accessible inside that function. Okay? So, let's have here a variable ans is equals to stringbar. Okay? So, that's the declaration. Again, stringbar is a string formatting function in Tkinter, in Python. Okay? Used to format numeric value into a string. So, it's just like an ordinary object or ordinary data type, similar to your string. So ans is equals to string bar. What are we going to do now? So we're going to set this ans, okay, as we're going to format the answer to this ans variable. Okay, so we have ans dot set str. We need to convert your answer to string. Okay, so take note that this is not inside any condition. So I can store the answer in my ans variable. Okay, the answer is numeric in nature. The value is numeric because you convert your two variables into float. So this time, you are formatting your answer as a string and store it in your ans variable because your ans is a string bar. Now, how can this ans be displayed to your txt answer? Okay? Because this is a variable that we declare. How can we set it in the txt answer? So you go to your txt answer, okay, here in the entry, and then you need to set the text variable of this equals to the name of your variable string bar. What is the name? Ans. So you have to set it as the text variable. Okay? So text variable is equals to ans. Whatever is stored in the ans, it will now be displayed in your txt answer. Okay. Now, how are we going to call now this function from our buttons? So, calling the function from the button is written in the command. That's why I made it blank first in the beginning. Once you have written the function, that's the time you write the function call. Now, how to call the function from the button? Okay? So, from the button, you have to type the command. You have to erase that double quote. It's not needed. Okay, so I only type it because it needs some blank values first. So here you need to use lambda, and then what is the exact name of your function? The exact name of your function, let's go up, is, where's that? This one. Compute. So, compute OP, okay, type it here, lambda, colon, compute OP. So, no need for the colon character. What is the operator that I want to pass if I will click BT and add? It is addition. Okay? So, that is the parameter that I will pass when I call compute because it's BT and add. Now, what is a lambda? A lambda is your anonymous function. Okay? So, this is a single liner function that after the colon, it returns an expression. So, here, what will be returned after the colon? It's your function call. Okay? So, lambda is an anonymous function. Now, I will copy this all and I will put it in the other buttons. So, this time it's minus. For the third one, it's multiplication. And then for the fourth one, it is, what's that? Division. Okay? So let's run this program and see. Okay? I will enter here 5 and I will enter 8. Okay? So my plus button will pass a parameter addition and it will be received by your function. Since I am passing plus in my operator, plus, so after getting the number, it is the first condition that will be executed. And after that, it will display it in the it will store it in the ans variable, which is set as the text variable for your txt answer. So let's try the other output. Okay, so 5, 8 is 13 when you click add, subtract is -3, multiply is 40, and divide is 0.625. So, this is how to create a GUI in Tkinter, and at the same time, how to call a function from an event in our widget. So, we call the function from the click event of the command button. Now, our scenario says we have to apply exception handling. Okay, what if I will enter here? I will enter 0 here. There is no problem for add, for subtract, and for multiply. But for division, I will have an error. Okay? Or, actually, it should be, what is that? uh, zero division error. Or what if I enter here like that? Okay, what's happening? There should be an error. Okay, let me close it. Okay, I'm not saying it, but there's actually an error. So here, okay, so let me go and run this again. When you divide a number by a 0, there should really be an error. Nothing will be displayed there because it is called an exception. It's called zero division error. So we should handle this using the try except keywords or try except handling. Okay, so this is one of the error. Now, what are we going to add to our code? So we will now add exception handling to our codes. So here, the exception is usually raised when you execute this code. So this is where to type your try. Okay, so the try block, and make sure your statements are indented. Okay, let me put there. And then this one. Okay, now, so here, we can now type our except our exception as E. So E will represent as the variable for exception. It's an alias, so we can use a shorter name. So except exception as E. Okay, let's display it using a message box. Message box that show info. Then what's the title for this? Info. And let's display the error or the exception. What will happen if I will enter a 0? Okay. So here 4 and here 0. Okay, divide. Oh, what's that? Okay, message box is not defined. So generally, message box, dialog boxes, and other top level windows, they need to be imported specifically. You need to specify that you are importing a message box. Okay? So, what do we need to do? We need to type import from Tkinter import message box. Okay? You need to specify a top level window when importing it. So, let's try to run it again. No, Tkinter, sorry, wrong spelling. Okay, so run. So we have 4 and 0. So when you divide, so this is now your message box, float division by 0. In order for the program not to stop abnormally, so you can put exception handling. Okay? So for the others, it will work because there's no error for that. But for here, at least the program will not stop. So another error can be, what if you type a non-numeric number? So could not convert string to float. Okay, so this is how to create a GUI application in Tkinter. See you at my next video, guys.